Ever wondered what happens when culinary creativity goes too far? From eels suspended in jelly to pickles soaked in Kool-Aid, these bizarre food experiments from the 70s and 80s are equal parts shocking and fascinating. Ready to dive into the weirdest dishes you've never tried? Let's dig in. During the 1970s, the restaurant world buzzed with a spirit of creativity and daring. Chefs treated their kitchens like playgrounds, boldly experimenting with flavors and techniques. The result? Dishes that would leave you scratching your head in amazement. What were some of these wild creations that pushed the boundaries of taste, technique, and tradition? Hop aboard our food time machine as we uncover 20 restaurant meals from the 1970s that nobody dares to serve anymore. Fair warning, most of these dishes will absolutely shock you. Today, we're diving into two burgers with peanut butter on them. Yes, you heard that right. 20? The Goober Burger. What happens when a chef throws all caution to the wind and whips up something that defies every rule of logic? You get the Goober Burger, one of the strangest and most unforgettable foods to come out of that wild decade. First cooked up at the Willin Drive-In in Sedalia, Missouri, this bizarre burger had one magical trait. One bite could turn an ordinary day into an extraordinary adventure. The Goober Burger brought together a beef patty and a thick slather of peanut butter. That's right, peanut butter. The combination was shockingly bold, creating a savory, creamy flavor unlike anything anyone had tasted before. It wasn't just a new flavor, it was an entirely new experience. People came in droves, curious to taste this oddball creation for themselves. The Goober Burger didn't just make history, it rewrote it. The Wheeling Drive-In became a local legend, not because people adored the taste, but because they simply couldn't believe it existed. It was the culinary equivalent of a Rubik's Cube, puzzling, confusing, and impossible to ignore. And if you think this burger sounds bizarre, just wait until you see what's next. Spoiler alert, the madness is just getting started. 19. Hot Beef Sundae. Step right up for another marvel from the world of culinary oddities, the hot beef sundae, a dish so strange you might question your grip on reality. Born at the Iowa State Fair, this quirky classic stood proudly among fried butter and other Midwestern food experiments. In Iowa, comfort food isn't just eaten, it's turned into a spectacle. When you hear the word sundae, you probably imagine ice cream with sprinkles. Well, think again. This sundae replaced sweet treats with a mountain of savory ingredients that sound like they were stolen from 5 different meals. Mashed potatoes, roast beef, gravy, a slice of bread, cheddar cheese, and, of all things, a bright cherry tomato on top. The masterpiece starts with a hearty scoop of mashed potatoes topped with juicy roasted beef. Next comes a generous splash of rich gravy, a cozy slice of bread tucked in, a dusting of sharp cheddar cheese, and finally, the crowning jewel, a bright red tomato, confused but proud. The whole creation was designed to look like a real sundae. But one bite revealed it was anything but. For many fairgoers, the hot beef sundae brings back warm, nostalgic memories. But brace yourself, next dish on our list is one so gross, only the bravest dared to put it in their mouths. Get ready, we're heading to London, England next. We're about to witness one of the strangest dishes ever cooked up, number 18, eel and jelly. Eel and jelly walked the razor-thin line between culinary brilliance and complete madness. First making its debut in the early 1900s, this bizarre dish somehow stuck around until the 1970s, when it finally earned a strange kind of fame in popular dining. As the name bluntly warns, eel and jelly was made from, you guessed it, eels. The preparation involved dunking these slippery creatures, into a wobbly, gelatinous aspic made from fish stock. The end result looked like something from another planet. Eels trapped inside a shimmering, trembling mass of jelly that seemed more fitting for a mad science lab than a dinner plate. This spooky, jiggling oddity was especially popular at upscale restaurants along the East Coast, particularly in New York and Boston. These daring kitchens prided themselves on pushing the limits of seafood creativity, often presenting eel and jelly as a show-stopping dish for diners tired of the usual or just crazy enough to try something completely unhinged. For some, the bizarre look was exactly why they ordered it. For others, just the sight was enough to send their appetite running for the hills. Still, eel and jelly had its loyal fans. Brave souls who praised its weird texture and surprisingly deep, rich flavor, even if it looked like it might crawl off the plate if you stared too long. But as food trends shifted and diners' tastes became either more refined or just more sane, eel and jelly quietly slithered. And diners' tastes became either more refined or just more sane, eel and jelly quietly slithered off menus and into the dusty pages of forgotten history. Yet, just as one bizarre dish faded away, another was waiting in the wings, ready to raise eyebrows and drop jaws all over again. And this next one, let's just say, some pots still had the feet attached. 17. Frog legs. If you stumble across a frog today, count your blessings. Back in the 70s, it might have ended up fried on a plate. Why settle for chicken when you could feast on something that jumps? Frog legs were one of the ultimate oddities of the decade, featuring, naturally, the part of the frog no one really asked for. The leeks. These amphibian drumsticks was lovingly coated in breadcrumbs, fried to golden perfection and served so crispy you'd swear the frog was about to spring right off your plate. The flavor explosion was unreal. Buttery, garlicky, and so intense you almost believed the frog had marinated itself before the capture. Frog legs became a surprising hit across seafood restaurants in the United States, winning over diners with their nutrient-rich meat and delicate, tender bite. Of course, not everyone was a fan. For plenty of folks, this dish was a hard nope at first glance. But if frog legs made your stomach do somersaults, buckle up. Because the next dish might just send you straight to the morgue, figuratively speaking. Get ready for something sticky, sweet, and completely unhinged. 16. Spam Fiesta Peach Cups. If you thought there were limits to food creativity, you clearly haven't met Spam Fiesta Peach Cups. This dish proved that when you mix a can of spam and a few peaches, anything, and I mean anything, can happen. This concoction was a bizarre symphony of flavors that somehow came together to create what some daring souls called a fiesta dish. If your idea of a party involves mystery meat in a cup, the recipe called for ground spam, oats, milk, ketchup, and mustard. Because why stop at just one questionable choice when you can throw in 4? These wild ingredients were expertly mixed together, then carefully stuffed into canned peach halves and broiled to what some might call perfection. The end result? A sticky, sweet, savory flavor explosion that left you questioning not just your appetite, but maybe your entire life choices. Unsurprisingly, this dish never truly made it big in mainstream restaurants, maybe because even the wildest 70s chefs knew better than to unleash it fully on the public. Still, Spam Fiesta Peach Cups carved out a strange little corner for itself in cookbooks, cementing its legacy as one of the most bizarre culinary experiments of its time. Predictably, this oddball combo of meat, fruit, and pantry staples didn't exactly win the hearts of the masses, and by the end of the 70s, it had drifted into the shadows of culinary history. Yet, like a stubborn bedbug, it never vanished completely. You can still stumble across this relic in a few brave restaurants today, usually offered as a badge of honor for the most adventurous eaters. Speaking of rites of passage, our next dish might have been less of a dinner and more of a test of strength, the kind of challenge only the bold dared to face. 15. Sweet potato casserole. It may be Thanksgiving, but let's get weird with it. Sweet potato casserole might raise an eyebrow or two today, but by the 1970s, it had firmly planted itself as a Thanksgiving staple across the United States. First appearing in the early 20th century, this peculiar dish was originally the oddball at the table, until its bizarre charm eventually won over hearts and stomachs nationwide. Soon enough, no festive spread felt complete without it, and it was even praised for its so-called healthy flavors. Because, nothing screams health food like sugar-drenched marshmallows floating atop a sea of mashed sweet potatoes. The ingredients list sounded simple: sweet potatoes, sugar, spices, and marshmallows. But the magic was in the execution. First, the sweet potatoes were mashed with sugar and warming spices, then crowned with a generous topping of fluffy marshmallows. Once baked, these marshmallows melted and browned into a gooey, golden crust that was nothing short of a sugar addict's dream. The final result? A creamy, spiced, sticky sweet side dish that managed to win over even the most skeptical eaters. And let's not overlook its visual appeal. Those perfectly toasted marshmallows, glowing golden brown, were practically a work of art. It's a shame the shifting tides of time buried this shimmering gem. But fear not, because the next dish is so weird, yet so wonderfully simple, you could easily whip it up for dinner tonight. And trust me, it's good. Because when the star is crispy, crunchy on the outside and tender, juicy inside, you know you're about to meet an absolute classic. Number 14. Chicken and waffles. Chicken and waffles was the kind of delightfully strange meal that made you feel like you were dining in an alternate universe. A beloved, if slightly confusing, fusion marriage of crispy fried chicken and pillowy waffles that hijacked appetites and dominated menus once it found its groove. This now iconic duo found its roots at Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles in Los Angeles, way back in the late 1970s. Legend has it, someone walking there glanced at a plate of fried chicken, looked at a plate of waffles, and bam! The light bulb moment of the century. Roscoe's officially opened its doors in 1975, and before long, chicken and waffles wasn't just a local phenomenon. It became a magnet for high-profile personalities who, let's be honest, were probably just as baffled as everyone else by how much they loved it. The dish itself was a wild collision of flavors: savory, crispy chicken clashing beautifully with sweet, fluffy waffles. It was a bizarre contrast, but one that somehow worked perfectly. Butter and syrup drizzled over this crispy sweet mountain made one thing very clear. When it comes to food, the strangest combinations often end up being the most unforgettable. Fast forward to today, and chicken and waffles isn't just a quirky novelty, it's a celebrated staple, famous for its flair, creativity, and proof that sometimes the best things in life are the ones that make absolutely no sense. So the next time you find yourself staring down a weird combo on a menu, just remember, if chicken and waffles can conquer the culinary world, anything can. But if you think that was strange, hold on to your fork, because our next entry wasn't just weird. It was practically a food sculpture straight out of a fever dream. 13. Banana candle salad. Its weirdness wasn't about flavor, it was all about the look, because nothing screams fine dining quite like a banana dressed up as a lit candle. This culinary masterpiece was a massive hit in restaurants across the US during the 1970s, marking one of the most surreal moments in food trend history. At the base of this edible art piece, a unsuspecting bed of lettuce, which bravely supported what can only be described as a banana pretending to be a candlestick. The banana was perched upright, topped with pineapple rings that acted like a holder for this fruity flame. But the creativity didn't stop there. Whipped cream and mayonnaise were slathered onto the banana to represent melting wax, because obviously that's the next logical step. And finally, a bright cherry crowned the top, standing in as the flame. The end result? If nothing else, it was a conversation starter, sparking reactions that ranged from delighted giggles to stunned, confused stares. Some diners were charmed by the whimsical, if slightly unhinged, design. Others, well, they found it quirky at best and deeply questionable at worst. But if you thought a banana candle was the peak of 70s food weirdness, oh, buckle up, because things are about to get even stranger. 12 culicles. If you're tired of boring, everyday food, here's something that'll bring just the right amount of drama back to your taste buds. Enter the culicle, a snack that truly defined the what were they thinking spirit of the 1970s. This bizarre creation first sprouted up in certain corners of Mississippi, starting as a local curiosity that most people approached with caution. But somehow it evolved into a recognizable phenomenon. The recipe was almost too simple. Take pickles, soak them in Kool-Aid and sugar, and let them marinate for a few days. The result was a flavor explosion that could only be described as sweet, tangy, and completely unexpected. And the colors? Oh, the colors. These Kool-Aid pickles looked like they had survived a food fight with a rainbow. Vibrant reds, blues, and greens that practically screamed for attention. If the look didn't intrigue you, the first shocking bite definitely would. While many people couldn't quite wrap their heads or taste buds around the concept, culicles somehow became part of the decade's wild culinary tapestry. Love them or loathe them, they were pure 70s chaos in a jar. But if culicles rattled your food sensibilities, our next dish might just shatter them entirely. 11. Turducken. Why settle for eating one bird when you can have 3? Turducken was the ultimate, why not, meal of its time. A jaw-dropping combination of chicken stuffed into a duck stuffed into a turkey. The dish began its slow climb to fame in Louisiana during the late 60s and, with the energy of a caffeine-addicted influencer, exploded onto the food scene during the 70s. Initially a well-kept local secret, turducken dazzled taste buds across the country and even gained international curiosity thanks to its sheer ridiculousness. Preparing one was a labor of love and patience. Chefs had to carefully debone each bird without shredding it into a crime scene, then layer them together with seasoned pork stuffing in between. The final masterpiece, a massive, meaty Russian nesting doll that served up flavor after juicy spice flavor with every slice. It wasn't long before turducken became a showstopper at festivals, weddings, and Thanksgiving feasts, proving that in American cuisine, bigger really is better. And just when you thought the 70s couldn't get any bolder. 10. Walking taco. Born from the noble quest for tacos, you could eat literally anywhere. The walking taco took casual dining to a whole new level. The story begins in sunny California, where taco innovation knew no bounds. Instead of a classic taco shell or tortilla, the walking taco took a detour, straight into Ayas, a slightly unsettling geometry project. By the 70s, perfection salad had reached peak popularity. popping up in restaurants and homes across America. Some found its shimmering wobble charming. Others were just trying not to make eye contact with it across the table. Because while a few brave souls appreciated the creativity, most people just wondered who thought trapping crunchy vegetables in lime jello was a good idea. Fried chicken, and enter the world of chicken fried steak, a dish so rich and indulgent that it's as if comfort food itself has gone on a deep dive into excess. The idea is simple. Take a tender piece of cubed steak, bread it in a crispy coating, and then fry it to golden perfection, just like fried chicken. But this isn't just any ordinary steak, this is a transformation that makes your taste buds do a happy dance. Topped with a generous smothering of creamy gravy, chicken fried steak combines the comfort of southern cooking with the kind of bold flavors that make you wonder why we didn't think of it sooner. But like many of the dishes on our list, it was a concept that was so unusual and indulgent, it could only belong to a time when pushing culinary boundaries was all the rage. Despite its comfort food appeal, chicken fried steak never quite reached the same level of popularity nationwide as some of its contemporaries. But for those who know the true magic of this dish, its thick, crispy crust and savory gravy are like a warm hug to your stomach. Today, it remains a beloved dish for those who seek the perfect bite of crunch, flavor, and decadence. Now, as we take another turn down the road of culinary oddities, let's buckle up for a dish that brings together some of the weirdest flavors ever combined. If you thought chicken fried steak was the pinnacle of indulgence, wait until you get a load of what's next. Influenced by the bold and experimental spirit of the 70s, where the more outlandish the combination, the better. The Monterey Soleil salad was like a mystery wrapped in a riddle, as it brought together a strange combination of flavors that in theory should never have met on the same plate. Yet in some twisted way, they did. The salad was a vibrant concoction of lemon-flavored jello, yes, jello, mayonnaise, tuna, olives and grated onions, creating a dish that looked like a salad but tasted like something that could only exist in the culinary chaos of the 70s. The result was a salad that had the texture of gelatin, the creaminess of mayo, and the distinctiveness of tuna and olives, all while keeping you wondering, why does this work? It was a dish that no one could quite figure out. Did the flavors balance? Did they clash? Why would anyone willingly put these ingredients together? Yet somehow, like so many 70s concoctions, the Monterey Soul salad made its way onto dinner tables, adding to the collection of bold, questionable experiments that were the hallmark of that era's food culture. As strange as it was, this salad captured the imagination of a generation that thrived on culinary adventure, even if it meant taking a culinary detour straight into the unknown. It's no surprise that the Monterey Soleil salad didn't stick around for the long haul, but it certainly left its mark, showing that the 70s were a time when creativity and questionable taste ruled the kitchen. And now, let's move on to our next dish. If you thought Jello was bizarre enough, wait till you get a load of this next creation. The 70s really had no shortage of strange ideas that somehow still managed to capture the public's attention. As the 70s and 80s proved, the world of food was just as experimental and unpredictable as the fashion trends of the time. Every meal was an opportunity to push boundaries, mix flavors, and bring seemingly odd combinations into the spotlight. Whether it was the vibrant colors of Kool-Aid pickles or the oddly comforting yet completely out there Monterey Soul salad, there was always something new to taste and experience, even if you weren't sure if it was an acquired taste or a one-time curiosity. The French dip, on the other hand, stood as a testament to simplicity done right, proving that not every innovative idea had to be bold or bizarre to make an impact. Sometimes it's the little accidents in the kitchen that create some of the most iconic dishes, and that's part of the magic of food. It's always evolving. So, which of these strange culinary creations would you dare to try? And which ones will forever stay in the maybe not column? Let us know in the comments, and if there are any weird dishes from your own childhood you remember that didn't make the list, share them too. Who knows, they might just make the next video and add another layer to the fascinating story of weird food.